Welcome everyone to Perspectives and welcome Katie Taylor. How you doing today, Katie?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you doing, Trevor?
I am great. Thank you for asking. So thank you for being our first guest on the new INDEAL Youth series Perspectives. So before we kick everything off, I just want to make sure that we have a good introduction of who you are and what you do. So talk a little bit about your career here in the contract interiors industry.
Absolutely. So it's very timely for me to be on here. So within like 1 week exactly or not 1 week, 1 month from today, it'll be my 3 years with KFI. And with that, it'll be my 3 years in the contract industry as a whole. So I came from GE Appliances to here. So I have literally zero furniture background. When I sat down for my first day at KFI, I'm like, I got this. I'll figure this out. And it's turned out to be absolutely incredible. So when my boss Chris introduces me to anyone that we come across, he's like, "This is Katie. She wears a lot of hats." So I think that like you should change under my name to like she just wears a lot of hats. But really, I do everything from helping our reps with anything they could possibly need, helping with new product launches, and really just helping this whole machine to start growing. We've done a lot of awesome things since I came on board, and that's not to say like I did those things, but it's been really awesome to watch them progress over the past couple of years. So that's my day to day.
Well, thank you. So, through perspectives, we're just going to take a little bit of time digging into Katie's perspective of our industry. So, to keep along, you can keep up with the questions coming up at the bottom here. So, Katie, what do you love about working in this industry?
I think like the first time I met anyone in the industry, and I think honestly it's like my first time at Neocon, which was about a year in to my experience, little less than. But it's just the people that will come up to me and they'll say, "Oh, you're in this for life." And at first it was like pretty daunting. Like, okay, is this a cult? What's happening here? But it's been such an awesome community because it's such a small world. So I think that's my favorite part is just you're meeting all these friends. Like I went on the road show throughout April and May. And now I still talk to all my friends. Like we all were joking afterwards, just being like, we feel like we're leaving summer camp. It was all a bunch of different manufacturers. I mean, we're all competing too for business, but it's still this really fun like camaraderie that just within the whole group. So that's my favorite part of the industry for sure.
Absolutely. And that's a commonality between everyone in the industry. The people really make it so special, and the relationships that you get to build throughout it, it is definitely incredible.
Yes.
So, on that note, I want to talk a little bit about kind of your journey throughout this industry. And so, you mentioned that you're kind of coming on your 3 year anniversary. And so, tell us a little bit about what changes you would like to see in our industry.
I think that, the changes that I've wanted to see are starting to happen now. And I hope that that continues to happen. So the biggest thing is just everyone that's in the furniture industry has been kind of in the same mold, and this is how we always do things. This is how furniture's always been sold, always been specified. So the processes have been almost stale. So I think over the past year, once COVID hit, not to harp on that, but it really made everyone be like, okay, we have to do things differently. I can't show up at a dealer showroom and be like, this is my chair. What do you think? Do you have a project? And it's gotten to be this like much more. I mean, it was already a very creative path. Obviously, designers and everyone that has a hand in it is incredibly creative brain anyway. But I think that it's opened up, and I want it to do this even more. I just opened up that path for creativity. So why can't we switch it up? What if we did things this way? I've been seeing a lot of my reps, for example, um, they've been hosting these events. Like one of them down in, I guess they were in Birmingham. They're in Alabama, and they ended up having this big. It was like a Pilates class, but they were also learning about furniture. And not that everyone needs to be doing that event in particular, but everyone just starting to think outside the box of how can we talk about specification and how can we get the word out there about our products instead of like Vanna Whiting all of these chairs. It's just a little bit more creative, and that's what I hope to see continue. The other thing that, um, and I mentioned it when I was kind of talking to the community and the people and all of that I do love. But collaboration, you guys have done an awesome job in terms of like the different renders that you're coming up with. You're like putting our product with other manufacturers' product. And I think that's such a cool way to go about things so that everyone can work together so that the end user is ultimately, you win. When they win, we're all winning because they have this perfect pool of things to choose from without everyone kind of trying to hold their cards, if that makes sense. So I think more collaboration, more creativity, and just continuing on that path that really, oddly enough, COVID kind of opened that up for all of us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Looking at the industry, it's been, a lot of similarities over the past 50 years, but in the past 12 to 18 months, all of the changes that we see are extremely exciting to kind of get a bigger view of the direction that this industry is going. And I love the point on collaboration because that is definitely something that
Yeah,
we really enjoy here at INDEAL.
number one.
So, on that note, kind of talking about some of the changes we'd like to see, I want to go back and kind of dig a little bit deeper into your journey within this industry. So, what is something that you wish you would have learned sooner when joining the contracts interior industry?
I think the first thing so when I started out and when I'd go into these meetings, and I remember my first in person, like I'm going to go do a ride along with my rep for the first time. And I was in Atlanta and I went into this meeting being like, okay, I'm the manager of this. Like, I need to pretend I know everything. I need to be the expert. No, like I didn't know anything about the process, and I wish I would have come into it being like, why? Why are we doing it that way? What kind of questions do you have? Why are you asking that? What can I provide for you? How can I support you to help you do your job? And what is your job? So I think I wish that I would have given myself a little bit of grace to be able to ask all the questions. And I've alluded to all this before, but like I call it playing kindergartner. So just being like, well, why? Why do you do that? Why do you do this? And I think that would have, I think people want to help each other, right? And I think I would have really learned that from day one. I definitely have a huge support system here at KFI, but like knowing that even the people that I'm presenting to, they want to help me learn, everyone learn what their project is. So that's the biggest thing, is just giving yourself the space to try to ask the questions to be able to learn, and just knowing that people do want to help you ultimately.
Absolutely. And the one thing I love about that too is that, comment, there's no stupid questions that could not be more relevant within our industry. Every
Yeah,
single question is for your learning journey, and no two learning journeys are the same. I know that both of our learning journeys couldn't have been any closer when it comes to
it,
differentiation.
it's ridiculous. Well, and the other thing, like talking in my day to day with all my reps, I tell them the worst thing that we're going to say is no, and there aren't really like that high of chances that we're going to say it, because they're like, what if we upholstered this with this, or can we put this base on the, whatever that roundabout question is. I'm like, I don't know, maybe we can figure something out. And just knowing that those projects are out there, even if we can't help with that specific project, down the road someone else may ask for that same thing, and that's how we're going to learn what we need to bring to market. And that's how some of our product lines have evolved. And it's really cool to just think, I mean, just whatever that one question could be could lead to something down the road for us as manufacturers.
Absolutely. So, in your last answer, you kind of already segmented into the next question. So, I know we focus a little bit on, asking questions, making sure that you're asking all the right questions, and don't be afraid to ask them in the first
Yeah.
place. So, what advice beyond that would you give to someone new to our industry?
Beyond that, man, no, definitely on top of asking the questions, I think that if you're brand new to the industry, you're at such an advantage of bringing the perspective from a whole other industry. Like, you are able to come in and help, be like, this is where, appliances, for example, are getting, I remember they were getting their color trends from the car industry. So, stoves are mimicking what different car dealers or car manufacturers are doing. So, just like bringing those types of ideas, and where can we look to get inspiration for color and that sort of thing. just whatever industry you're coming from, even if it's not that easy to compare, um, you are an asset. And I think that telling people to be proud of what their path has been to get to the industry is huge. Because my boss, for example, he's the president of this company. He's in medical sales, right? So, and then he started in this. So having people that come from so many different backgrounds, that just helps with that creativity. And it helps with, okay, maybe I have some sort of experience that no one in this industry possibly could have had, or maybe that's how you're going to build that community, right? So I think that being new is not necessarily like you're so green. You just have experiences that are different. So asking the questions in coordination with like, I know these things that I can bring to that. I think it's a really cool opportunity.
And I think that's the perfect time to talk about how valuable a new hire's perspective is on INDEAL's perspectives.
100%.
So,
More new hires, more new people to the industry. I think that's the name of the game.
absolutely. So, for the final question, I want to learn a little bit more about what locked you into your position in this industry. What was the moment that you realized that you found your career within the commercial furniture industry?
Trevor, I think I've like mentioned this to you before, but it just always makes me laugh. I knew this was my career sooner than this point, but when I started, I had this like little sedan, right? And I figured out a way that I could get like 5 chairs in there. All right, I can play Tetris. I can figure out how I can get these from point A to point B. But what if I want to bring a couple extra bar stools? What if I want to bring, a small table? What if I like that's where my head's going for my car, my literal automobile that I own. And so like last spring, it was time. My car was about to just die on me. I was like, okay, well, forget this SUV that I'm going to be able to fit, I think about 13. And from Louisville, I can drive to Indianapolis. I can go to St. Louis. I can go to Nashville. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, but like in your day to day, like you're not actually traveling with 13 to 15 chairs. But that's really the moment I was like, oh, you are in this. Like you buy a car, you're keeping it, hopefully. I mean, for at least a decade, given nothing goes wrong. And that was the second I was like, okay, well, I'm thinking about this in terms of like how it affects my life. And when I go home, I still have this car. So that was the moment it just kind of dawned on me when I'm explaining to like my mother why I don't have a pet, I don't have a child, need like a large SUV with a third row. She's like, do you really need this? I'm like, well, yeah, 13
Absolutely.
chairs. Of course I do. So that, that was definitely the what is happening moment for me. But I'm definitely locked in, and just the excitement that I get aside from my automobile. Um, and I look forward to get on an airplane to go to, like, people are like, you're going to be so exhausted by the end of this road trip that we took April and May. And I'm like hopping in a car with people I met 2 weeks prior to drive 6 hours for this. And that was the moment where I'm like, I'm very invested in this. And even if I am a little bit tired of sleeping in hotels, like I love talking about my brand. And I don't know, it surprises me every single day, and it's so much fun.
Absolutely. It's hilarious that the story that got you in, and not even got you in, but really locked you down with this is the right career path, is about a car. Not
Like,
as close to the
no,
products and the
no,
people, but a car.
no,
That is
not one thing.
hilarious.
My car. I realized I was hooked when I was like, oh, wait a second.
Well, thank you
So
very
much fun.
much, Katie. I'm extremely happy that we were able to have you on Perspectives and really be able to take a deeper dive into your point of view from this industry. So, thank you very much for joining me. And we will be releasing these very often. So, be sure to keep up to date with the
Yes.
INDEAL U site to follow everything that we are doing here at INDEAL. So, thank you again, Katie.
All right. Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate it.